Hi guys, and thank you for joining me for another tech story. Today we're going to continue with the simple calculator tutorial using Python. We're going to add an undo functionality. But in order to do this, we're going to need not just one variable. If you remember from the last tutorial, we have the initial memory variable, which is an integer, and we keep adding the results, regardless if it's add, subtraction, or whatever operation, we keep adding this result to the initial memory variable, so we overwrite that variable. But what we want to do is create a variable for each result so we can actually undo and go step back. But of course that's not very practical, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a list, or as it's called in other programming languages, an array. And the list is a collection of values, regardless what type. As we know, a variable can hold one type of data. A list can contain multiple values, and each of them can be a different type of data. So it can hold an integer, a double, a string, all in one place. And each of them has a certain index, so it starts with 0 and it increments as it go up. So you can think of it as a collection of variables within one variable. So within a big container, you have a bunch of variables. So let's get started. Now the first thing we need to do is say that this is a list, the initial memory variable. So initial memory equal empty brackets. So now it understands that the initial memory variable is a list. And in that case, we can't use equal. We're going to use append, the append function or method. Here, and we're gonna put all this line within the append. So the append function, it takes whatever value you give and it put it in the last place within your array. So let's say if you have 5 values in there and the increment starts from 0, so index 0 is full until 4 because you have 5 values. So the new value will go at index 6. So there we go. That's the first thing we need to do. Here, within the while loop, if you remember, we're looping until the user enter quit. And then here we're checking that the operation is not quit in order to check further if it's add or subtraction or multiply or any of that stuff. So here, we want to also check that it's not quit and it's not undo. So we're going to add an AND operation not equal undo. So in that case, we're going to check first, is this a quit or undo? And if it is, we're going to hop all this section and go here, which we're going to do here. So we're hopping all this section and then we're checking, is this an undo? Is the operation is actually equal to undo? And then if it is, do this block of code. So, and the reason we're doing this is if we just wrote an if statement here or an else if or after this, what it's gonna do is gonna keep asking for the operation because we didn't give quit, so it's gonna keep going and asking for operation and not actually going here. So within the undo, we want to actually, if we started on the undo and we deleted the last value of the list that we created, that will cause an error, because if we're just starting the program and the user enter undo in the beginning, there's no values in there, so we're gonna get an error. So we need to check if the list actually has value. So we're gonna check the length of the array, or the list, sorry. and we're gonna check that it is bigger than 1. So we're checking if the length of the list is bigger than 1. And if it is, then we're gonna delete the last value in there. Now, in order to choose which value you want to retrieve from a list, you do it this way. You write the name of the list, and then you open brackets, and then you write the number of index. Now this is one way to do it. And when you write -1, it gets you the last value in the list. So here we're deleting this, and after we delete this, we're gonna print a message saying what value do we have now. There is and plus, and we're gonna get the actual last value in there. We're gonna convert it to a string in order to be displayed within the print function. So initial memory, the last value, as I mentioned, is -1. So there, and then we're gonna add the rest of the message saying in the memory. So there we go. So far so good. We're gonna do an else here. So if the length of the list is not more than 1, that means you can't do an undo. So we're gonna print a message saying you can't undo. But feel free to write whatever you want. So here, yeah, this should work, but there's a couple of things we need to change. Here, we're assigning value where we should append the value and not actually assign it. Since we're using Visual Studio Code, I'm gonna highlight this equal sign and the space before it. And as you can see, it already highlights all similar characters in other lines. And then I'm gonna press Ctrl and D on my keyboard to highlight them all. There we go. So now as we can see, we have highlighted all 4 lines. So we're gonna go back. As such, we're gonna write .append. There we go, open a bracket. Then we go in the end and close this bracket. There we go. Yeah, that is good. Here we're displaying the whole list. We want to only display the last value in the list. So we're gonna come here and we're gonna open a bracket and write -1. And I'm gonna copy this and just paste it in other lines, because I can't highlight it all, because as you can see there's multiple init_memory. So here I'm gonna paste it here and here and here, and there we go, in the end here also. So I think this should work. So let's give this a try. So I'm gonna write python app-undo.py, hit enter. I'm gonna write the first value is 0 or 1. Now we have only one value, and then I'm gonna do an undo. Enter. You cannot undo, so that's good. I'm gonna do an add. I'm gonna add another one, so that's, oh, okay, now we have an error. So it says here in line 15, initial memory.append can only concatenate list, not int. So line 15. Here is line 15. Oh, there we go. Here we're doing the mathematical operation on the whole list, and we can't do that. So we need to add brackets and -1 to retrieve the last value in the list. So there we go. And I think that's it. Let's try again. 1, undo, can't do it. We're doing an add. We're adding 1, then we're multiplying by 20, we're subtracting 1, then we're dividing by 2, and here we have 19.5. Before that we had 39, so I'm gonna do an undo, And here we have the 39, another undo, the 40, undo, 2, undo, we're gonna go back to 1, another undo, we can't undo. So this is working perfectly. Now I'm gonna write quit, and just one more thing I'm gonna edit here. I'm gonna add undo to the operations here. So here we go. And that's it. So in the next video, I'm gonna refactor all the code into functions to make this more efficient. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.